and welcome to the Startup and Career Show. I'm your host Rishabh in conversation with Satyajit Mittal, a designer at heart. He's the co-founder and CEO of Aretto, a technology-led kids footwear brand. He and his team created the shoes which can expand up to 3 sizes as the child grows. Satyajit earlier founded Squatties and Sanotion, where he won multiple awards, including Swachh Bharat Innovation Puraskar in 2018 from the Government of India. A very warm welcome, Satyajit. Glad to have you on the show today.
Hi, Rishabh. How are you? It's been a pleasure, and I'm very excited to get on this podcast and discuss the journey.
Oh, absolutely, Satyajit. Even I'm very excited to talk more about your innovation that you have done. Expanding the shoe is completely unheard of. Before we talk about your innovation with Aretto, would like to ask you about your earlier innovations, right, with Squatties and Sanotion. Maybe if you can share your journey as a serial entrepreneur with us.
Right. No, you are very kind. So before even the word entrepreneurship came in my mind, the word that I associated myself for the first 18, 19 years of my life was with problem solving. So right from a very early stage, when I was probably in school, in 7th or 8th grade, I had decided that I wanted to pursue design as a career. So started prepping for it when by the time I reached grade 12th, I had already started prepping for exams and those entrance tests that you have to go and crack. So I was very clear that I wanted to do product design. So went to college at MIT Institute of Design, Pune, for a 5-year course at that time, which was an integrated 5-year course of hardcore industrial and product design. Wherein before my knowledge was to make fancy products or fancy looking things, and then I understood that it's more about problem solving and creating products that make a difference in one's life on an everyday basis. That's where the real journey started. Started from my college days. I designed a product in my 3rd year of college, and eventually I never knew that life would have me connected to it once I would join my first job, and post that pursue it as an entrepreneur. So the first idea was to identify problems and create solutions via product design, because that was my trained skill set. But over the years, that helped me understand that I wanted to build a career or start my entrepreneurial journey in one of them.
Wow, this is interesting. But from design, studying design, then you started designing products to a great level, right? Where these were, and it's not that you've done some incremental improvement, so to speak. You've actually done innovation, right? So if you can just talk a bit about Squatties as well as Sanotion.
So Sanotion was my first venture. So you have to understand, I graduated in 2016. And I happened to get placed in a large tech company as a user experience designer, right? Squatties I had designed when I was in my 3rd year of college. And like every college student, when you're in college, you're like, you don't care about the things that scare most people in their entrepreneur journey, like how will this scale? Will it be viable? Will the users expect? While you're in design school, it's purity, right, of cracking the problem, right? Before you figure out how manufacturing will be, how you will maintain stock, how will distribution be. So at that time, I was a purist, where I was like, this is a problem faced by crores of Indians, and then eventually when I got into the journey of an entrepreneur, then I realized it's not only Indians, it's 2/3 of the world with still squats. All your Arabic countries, people are squatting. China, people are squatting. So I was like, the market is really bigger. But at that particular point, when I was looking at Swachh Bharat as a space, I was limited to 10 crore toilets being built in India. So at that time, I was like, there is a user who's been going to use the toilet for the first time. What are the apprehensions going to be, right, of using a toilet? Because you can't change a 30 years of behavior of someone squatting and doing a very natural thing, right? You can't give them a product and change them behaviorally. So you have to adjust with their behavior via the medium of a product. So that was the idea, and that's how we started solving the problem. and then went on to join a tech company. And it was a big fancy tech company. Learned a lot, 16 months. But then I realized that I have such a big opportunity lying in my shelf, and I have not picked it up and done something about it to make it. So I won a grant from the government of India, which is the Nidhi Prayas Innovation Grant. And I asked them, what is the requirement for the grant? They said, you have to submit one prototype. So I was like, you will give me this much money to submit one prototype. So I said, that's when the entrepreneurial spirit sort of kicked in. And I said, let's go ahead and manufacture these products, right? So all the prototyping costs will be covered by the government. So all my initial costs get covered up. And then I was fortunately working at a tech company. So I thought that I will save X amount till I can produce 3,000 units, because that was the MOQ at that time. So the day I had enough money for 3,000 units in my bank, I quit my job, right? And then went on to this journey. So the tech company, the founders were very kind. They gave me a sabbatical for 6 months, and they say if it works, it works. You go ahead. If it doesn't work, you come back. So I said, no, I need to burn all bridges. So you have to take my laptop back. If you give me that question, I will come back in 6 months. Then eventually one day I was unloading a truck of squatties which had landed in Pune, and the HR called me and said, tomorrow your 6 months are getting over, so are you joining office? And I was in the middle of outside a warehouse getting my truck unloaded, right? And so that was the journey. It was very interesting, a lot of struggle. It was my first time being a designer, being an entrepreneur. A lot of people told me designers can't be entrepreneurs. So just with the mettle of proving it wrong, that was that led to me defining that yes, it's possible, because there is a precedence. If you look at the US, or you look at Israel, for example, or you look at Germany, most of the founders or co-founders are actually designers. Okay, if you look at Airbnb, the co-founder is a product designer. If you look at Allbirds, the co-founder is a product designer. If you look at On Running, right, a shoe company, if you look, the founder is a product designer. So it has had precedence that innovation-led businesses have done very well to create a product differentiator in the West. So I was like, why is that logic not working in India? So then I looked at the industry and I understood that a lot of designers have gone into the service business in India, and of course they are entrepreneurs in their own might, but they have been service-led businesses so far. So I was like, India is ripe enough for a product designer to be a founder of a company. So that was the first part of the journey. But I learned a lot. A lot of things that design school doesn't teach you, life teaches you, right? So that was the journey, and there was a lot of learning, what to do, what not to do, what I'm capable of doing, and what I need to upskill myself into. So that was the journey with Squatties. We licensed the product in 2020 April, and we realized that I realized that Squatties was a great bet for me to taste entrepreneurship, understand the market, understand a differentiated product can do something which is so not sexy like a shoe, we are talking about a toilet, right? But if that could create such a power, a differentiated product in the shoe industry would just disrupt things. So that's exactly where we started from. So that has been the journey so far.
Wow, this is incredible, Satyajit, what you mentioned, and it's like the tiger tasted blood of entrepreneurship, right? Through Scotties.
Right.
But tell me about the award, especially the Swachh Bharat initiative that the award that you got, because your innovation, right? Though you started into a different direction now with shoe company, but still that played a huge role. So if you can just
Absolutely.
share 2 cents on that as well.
Yeah, I understood. See, the format is the same that I've been following. That it's been identify a big and obvious problem firstly, right? How big is the problem, and how obvious is the problem? So my vision has been find big and obvious large scale problems which affect billions of lives. Okay, understand why is there not a big and obvious solution if there is a big and obvious problem. And that is the journey that I say in insight finding. So I almost spend 6 to 8 months on the shoe product, identifying the insight. Okay. Because that is the core area, whether something will fly or not fly, because how true is your insight? You know, where is the market at with that insight and what is missing? And if a market is heavily loaded with large players in that segment, why haven't they gone behind it? What are the barriers to go and solve that problem? Right? Or why isn't there focus that? So we start with a research almost for 6 months on understanding this area. So with squatties, I understood that the big and obvious problem was that most toilets, the big and obvious problem was there are no sewage lines across Indian villages, right? And to build sewage lines, the cost is significant and the infrastructure growth is significant. So they picked up a model called the twin pit toilet, right? With two, you dig two holes. So I realized the interface of that toilet will always be a squat toilet, Indian toilet, because it uses less water. It will never be a sit down flush toilet. So those 10 crore toilets which have been built in Swachh Bharat will never move to an English toilet unless a sewage line is connected to the village, right? And that's going to be a significant play for another 15-20 years, where the lines sort of start reaching, because every village will have to have an STP and so on and so forth, right? And that was the problem why people did not have toilets in their homes. It was not like people didn't try, but people were not adopting the models of actually doing executing. They did phenomenal work in Swachh Bharat. By the way, the government did a phenomenal job in educating the people of building such systems in their houses, right? So we understood that now the opportunity is, see, Sulabh built that system, Dr. Bindeshwari Pathak. He built that system and that system works, proven, right? So I was like, can I make a system on top of that, which is the user experience part of it, which is how people squat, right? So I productize that UX part of the journey. So already the infra was created. I understood that it's a right market to get the right product, and a lot of people who are always upskilling, right? Like India is an aspirational country. We like to first set a base. Toilet nahi tha, toilet aa gaya. Abhi tile lagna shuru ho gaya, then it will go to, getting the right fixtures. Then ek bar fixtures ho gaya, then we'll get better quality fixtures and we'll get a brand fixture. So these are the cohorts, right? So we understood that even though the journey started with 5 years ago, there'll be people who would like to now have a better standard of living within the toilet, right? So those were our first movers in that journey. Especially a lot of techies in South whose parents were living in villages and they were doing their homes for their parents. I used to get almost 5 calls a day from people that I want to buy it for my father and my mother, who cannot habitually sit on sit on a toilet. They have to squat because they're habituated to do so. Right? That was the insight. So we started playing to that insight. So you won't believe, like, we launched on Amazon a 15 kg product, right? And we used to almost, the first time we sent Amazon 3 units because we thought kya bigega Amazon pe, right? It got sold in 2 days. Then we sent 5, then we sent 15, then we sent 25, then we sent 100, then we sent 300, right? And that was selling on Amazon, an Indian toilet. So it that opened my mind to how cohorts are built, how do you talk about the right product market fit, right? And then we eventually were coming to distribution as an angle, right? And that's when we got an offer from an existing company, and I realized that I I did not want to be in that trade over the next 20-year horizon. And that's where I started building the footwear product, and started researching about the footwear company actually, and that led to that journey. And then eventually we decided to get into the footwear space full fledgedly. But we were always clear that we're starting in 2020. We will not launch before 2022. We knew that there would be a 24-month cycle if you really want to build a great product, in my opinion. And if I was coming out with a generic product, some people say, start fast and fail faster and all of that. That's okay if your product identification is bang on, right? If you don't have a product and if you start fast and it's more chances that you will end up in, especially in products. That works well in tech because you can change without changing distribution. But if you don't give a right product to your customer, to your distributor, it's going to come back, right? So we were like, let's get the product right, let's test the product right, and that's how we went into that journey.
Wow, I mean, this is incredible, Satyajit, because it's not just about launching a product. I mean, what you spoke in last few minutes is the way you took every decision, right? I mean, you productize the whole concept of squatting, right? I mean, this is phenomenal.
Right.
This is something called
Right.
as design thinking at play, where you
Right.
do that. But coming to Areto, tell me, how did you identify this as a pain point, right? Because you mentioned that while you were doing your research, right, there are so many companies which are actually creating footwear. Or
Right.
how did you identify this as a pain point in the first way? And then what was your thought
Right.
process that led to
Right.
take Areto from ideation stage to making it as a reality?
So we start with no biases. Okay. So first point is you get, so we don't take the footwear industry as a bias. We don't take the footwear industry standards as a bias. So first day we threw everything out of the window. We said बहुत लोग जूता बना रहे हैं, 200 साल से बना रहे हैं, हमें फर्क ही नहीं पड़ता. We don't care whether you are a Nike, we don't care whether you are a Bata, we don't care whether you are a Liberty or you are a third party Chinese player. We don't care who you are. We are like, let's try to find the best products in the world first as benchmarks of what they did right, no matter how small or how big they are, right? But fundamentally with science, how good they are, right? So we started benchmarking such products. Then we were like, even though if they are the best products, why aren't people buying them at scale? Okay. So, and which are the products people are buying at scale? And then we started going down into segments, men's, women's, kids, right? Now my challenge was, if I talk and I started talking with people. So when I get into something, I really get into, the nooks and crannies of my, on my entire day's conversation will be about shoes. When I used to do squatting, my day's conversation was about shit. Okay. So I was like, if I'm talking about shoes, so I started talking to people. Every day, at least 5 to 10 hours a day, I was just talking to people and just meeting random people, just talking to them about, Acha, which is the best brand you think is in men's? Okay. Now, some people said Nike is the best brand for men's. Okay. When I started asking women, now some men said 80% of the men said Nike is the best brand. I said, tell me a good footwear brand in men's category, right? Which you like. They said Nike. Some men said Bata. Some men said Hush Puppy. Very small percentages because that was their personality. They went to office all day long. They wanted to be comfortable, right? Now I started asking that question to people in 40 plus, 50 plus. They started saying Skechers, right? Is a brand that they like. Then I did the same thing with women. So women who were more into athletics said an athletic brand name, right? Women who were more into heels said a certain brand name. So I understood that there are different cohorts where every brand is leading a certain cohort, okay, in their design or their segment. When I asked this question about kids, most people drew a blank for 3 to 4 seconds. Okay. So I was like, either they don't have kids, like when I thought of it, I couldn't think of a brand for kids, right? So I was like, मेरे बच्चे नहीं है तो मुझे नहीं पता शायद. So I went to people who had kids. Now, very interestingly, people who had kids between 1 to 6 years had no answer. And after 5-7 seconds, they named brand A or brand B. Okay, I'm avoiding to say the name, but they said brand A or brand B, right? And then you could filter it out that where does that brand sit on a pricing versus technology or lifestyle chart, right? Like a proper positioning map. So we started building that map actually on a wall, and we started saying, and we started talking to more and more people. Then you realize that why is it and the same question when you ask the dad or the mom, they are naming aspirational brands which sit in the top right corner of a map, which is the highest price and the most aspiration, right? Similarly, when they're talking about their kids, they are not able to plot where they want to be, right? After age 6, age 7, those brands also unlock. So they are like, yes, we can be a part of those aspirational brands. But before that, so I said this is the biggest opportunity, right? That why aren't there players in this segment? Why isn't the big daddies around the world in this segment, right? And then we started mapping user behavior. That why users. So there was customers who are buying the product, and there were kids who were the users. So we started making a map of where how did our parents shop for shoes for us, right? Versus how are we as shoppers today shopping for my future kids, right? So I was like, my parents went to a Bata, they shopped from a Bata, and of course they bought me shoes also from a Bata. But today's millennial parent doesn't enter a Bata, right? At least a certain segment of India that I am looking, the aspirational market. So that's where we found a gap. And we were like, why? And then we started research on in that gap, which are the products around the world. Okay. How do people behave? What is the buying behavior? So we realized that all parents are buying one or two sizes larger. Okay. Even now, in our time it was two sizes, now it has become one size. Okay. And there are very seldom people who are buying the exact fitting size. In all three scenarios, what we figured out was that a kid is wearing wrong shoes 2/3 of the time and right fitted shoes 1/3. Now, this is a very interesting concept because if you metricize this and take out the anecdote from it, okay, if you metricize it, let's put shoe sizes on one axis and age on the other axis, right? Now, your kid is growing from 0 years to 6 years. So, first 0 to 3 years, every 3 months, the kid is growing out of a shoe size. Then every 4 months they're going after 3 to 4. Then every 4 months they are running out of a size. Then after six, every 6 months they are running out of a size. Then after 9 years, every 9 months they are running out of a size, right? Approximately. So we realize that when a kid is buying a shoe, or when the parent is buying a shoe in between 0 to 6 years, they're buying one size bigger. Now, what happens with that logic is the kid is wearing a looser shoe. Then the kid actually reaches the same size as the shoe and then it becomes tighter. So if you plot it on a journey, a kid is wearing a comfortable shoe only 1/3 of the time of the shoe cycle. So we were like, can we make the shoe cycle elongated to fit right at all times? So anyways, 2 से 3 sizes वो skip ही कर रहे हैं इस process में, ठीक है? तो हम यही analogy के साथ एक product बनाते हैं जो 3 size last करे. But बच्चा हर दिन correctly fitted shoe पहन के घूम रहा है, right? So we are driving the value out of the same product with the same or slightly extended usage cycle with 3 sizes, but the kid is wearing a perfect size at all times. So that was our core insight. And then we started building the product. This cycle mapping, actually, we went ahead and took a database of kids of how their shoe buying pattern was and how many shoes were they having in their closet, right? So we never promoted you buy one shoe and you don't have to buy 3 shoes. You were anyways buying 1 or 2 shoes. You were not buying 3 because you were skipping in the user behavior sector. Then we realized what is the quality of products that they're buying. Okay. Because now if you wanted to give a comfortable shoe to your kid, so we went into the product anatomy. So all we understood that the footwear industry was basically because kids footwear market was a low-lying fruit. Okay. Because people don't like to spend too much money because you run out of shoes, right? That's the idea of value in your head.
Absolutely.
So we understood that what they did was they took adult shoes and shrunk it down to look like kid shoes. So size grading में supply chain में same हुआ, वो बस बड़े जूते को हमने छोटा कर दिया। तो हमने बोला उस लॉजिक के हिसाब से यूजर के लिए, तो जो बड़े बच्चे का पैर होता है या फिर अडल्ट का पैर होता है, दैट so a kid's feet is shrunk down version of adult feet with the same logic. If you have shrunk the product down, which means the feet is also shrunk down version, right? Which is not the case. So a kid's feet is tender. It does not have bone development takes over 2.5 years. Fully bone development of the feet. Arch in a kid's shoe actually grows 6 years later. First 6 years, there's no arch in a kid's shoe because that's a natural development process. And I don't say this. All the podiatrists in the world say this, who are feet doctors, right? Who have studied a course, done MBBS and become doctors of the feet, they say this thing. I don't say it. So I was like, nobody took the effort of understanding the science of kids' feet and make a product which supports the science. So we started understanding the science of kids' feet anatomy first. And then we started building a product backwards to suit a child's feet. So basically, a child should be mostly, and I'm saying this contrary to what I do as a business, being barefoot is the best thing for a child. Okay, not wearing anything, but that's not possible in today's day and age, right? So can we make a product that suits the next best thing to being barefooted and still having the right support, the right cushioning, the right comfort in the first 6 years? That's how we started designing our product. So we did not follow any modes uh, of the notional thinking of footwear design industry to build this product. So we were no footwear designers on our team. We were product designers looking at it as a product and not as a footwear. Because as soon as you go to footwear design, there are certain rules which are made by legacy players of a certain kind of a shoe. So, for example, when Mr. Gucci used to make shoes in Italy, or these big designers used to make shoes in Italy, or when the Germans used to make the shoes, because German fit is known to be the best fit in the world, right? Because Germans know fit right. So they measured it with certain kind of shoes at a certain period of time. Now the use case has changed. The environments on which you are walking have changed. The types of shoes that you wear has changed, right? But these are laws which was made 50 years ago, 100 years ago, right? And the same size set has been followed. So we tried to understand the industry, but build our model on top of it. And that was the true supply chain innovation that we were doing, of understanding how our lasts made, how our shoe lasts made, how our molds made, and did that core change on those particular aspects of the design. So we started building those things, and then finally we were like, अब हमारा technology बन गया, अब हम इसको productize करेंगे, because shoes आप technology देख के नहीं खरीदते, आप देखते हो कैसा लग रहा है.
Very true.
Especially kids, right? So once we were over with this whole phase of understanding technology, the other phase started, which was how the shoe is going to look, and what is going to be the viscerality of the shoe. So we spent another 6 months on understanding viscerality, right? And after we understood viscerality, then we said that the last and the foremost part is the testing. Can it test the time of winters? So we sent a product out in snow. We sent a product out in south when it's absolutely hot. And we were like, let's give it 6 months of testing. Okay. So we were like, 6 months में हमें पता चल जाएगा कि whether what is the wear and tear, how is the size growing, right? So we gave it to a kid who started at the base series, in the middle of the series, at the top of the series. And we gave them the shoes to understand कि growth कैसा हो रहा है तीनों. So maybe a Euro 26 was given a pair, a Euro 27 was given the same pair, and the Euro 28 was given the same pair, right? And we tested out for 6 months. That how is it working in each cohort? And that's when, once we were sure, the other challenge, as soon as we got out of this, and this happens to everybody, and that is why there are no design entrepreneurs largely in India, in my opinion, is because when design gets over and when production starts, the marriage between design and production, because see, in production, nobody has ever made that shoe before, right? So you have to build all the SOPs of how you're going to build the shoe on the manufacturing line, and that's a different skill set. So Squatty's experience helped me a lot to make this transition from a design, how it moves out of the design department and goes onto the shop floor. So we actually made our own jigs and our own SOP systems of how it will get manufactured. So our innovation team sat and made those jigs, made the understanding process of how this will move on a factory line. So a same output is achieved by a normal shoe and this shoe, because then your price will start varying, right? Because manufacturing is an outcome of quality, time, and output, right? So started going into those blocks, and finally we were teething till almost December, but now we are at the same pace, as any other footwear on the line. And this was the first time it was being ever made in the world, right? This product was never made in the world anywhere. So kudos to our partners in manufacturing who stuck along with us with a challenge like this. So yeah, that's been the journey so far.
This is mesmerizing and incredible, beyond words, Satyajit. The way you have described the whole thing, because it shows the time and effort that you guys have put in, and none of you are from the footwear background, right? And still, but what can a designer
I think
do?
that was the blessing in disguise,
Absolutely, yeah.
because no baggage came onto the table ever.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But Satyajit, can you talk a little bit about the technology that you guys have created, right? I think you guys have also filed for patents or something like that, if I'm not
So
wrong.
we've been granted a patent in India.
Okay, wow.
We've applied in over 12 countries.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not a design patent. I mean, of course, we've also filed for design patents that we've gotten. We are talking about a utility patent. Any shoe growing up to or more than 3 sizes with a wearer's feet. So we own that technology piece. So as an IP. So the IP was granted to us. We filed in 2020 May. We got a grant in 2022 October. So that's just right after we had launched the product in the market. So that was very helpful. It kind of creates a moat for us to go global, because you have a true differentiator as a product. And India being the second largest producer of footwear in the world is my unfair advantage.
Absolutely.
That's how I would put it, because I live here. We built a team out of here, and India happens to manufacture, almost the second largest manufacturer in the world for footwear. So we are very proud to say that we are 100% made in India. All component levels are made in India. So right from my SKD breakdown, we only work with local suppliers here, and we are able to assemble the entire product here itself.
This is amazing. Satyajit,
Yeah.
tell me one thing. Can you talk a little bit about the technology front as well? I mean,
Yes.
how is your shoe expanding 3 sizes? As a layman, help me understand that.
Okay, so we understood that when you take sizing in the footwear industry, from, let's say you wear a size 10 or a size 9, so between a size 9 and 10, the difference of the shoe size is 6.66 mm. That's the industry sizing chart. Okay, so we realized that, hey, when the kid is growing, it's growing millimetrically every day. Okay, little by little. So the contour of the shape of the feet, the contour and the cross section is just growing proportionally every day. Okay. So we realized we needed a sole which could expand about 18 mm in size. Okay. Which means that if we divided our sole, so the inspiration came from how petals of a flower bloom in nature. So when you plant a bud, over a period of time, the bud is small, and then it sort of starts opening slowly, and the flower starts blooming, right? So we took that same inspiration from nature and we applied it to a sole. Uh, so we applied it to a sole, and what happened was it just starts moving outwards as the kid is growing every day. So the sole is divided, has these Y grooves all across over 10 areas, and then this sort of starts moving outwards as the kid is growing every single day. And this we married with a highly stretchable upper, which has a blend of spandex in various locations. So as the kid grows every single day, slowly the groove starts moving apart and it starts opening out. And then it starts retaining that form like a sweater. So once you wear a sweater, because it's a knitted upper or knitted sweater, if you use it over 10 days or over 25 days, over a year, it'll start loosen up from the areas which have higher movement, right? And it'll start fitting you better. So on day one, it'll fit you snug, but day two, day three, it'll start fitting better. So that is how it kind of started. And we kind of started building this product. And then we figured out what kind of blend of knit, what kind of blend of upper, what should be the sole thickness, what is the force required by a kid to move it ahead and sort of open up. So all of those nitty gritty things sort of kind of fit in. And that's how we made this product.
Well, and this is in spite of the fact that you had to ensure that it cannot be very heavy as well, because you're designing it for the kids. So they need to be lightweight as well.
So our shoes are under 100 grams.
Wow.
So you can't, it's super light material. And we calculated the weight as per the weight of the baby in that age group. So that kind of helped us understand what kind of weight should be followed.
Wow, this is really incredible, Satyajit, because I mean, and thanks for telling us in detail about your process. It's not about the end product; it's about the journey that you guys have done, right? And then designing the whole thing. And this is a complete innovation. But moving on, if you can just talk about, because you mentioned you really like to speak to your customers, right? And you were not able to do it earlier, especially because of the segment it is. Whereas in this case, since it is the user is different, the buyer is different. So tell me about your experience while interacting with your first set of customers, right? How was your interaction? What was the feedback? And how did you garner first set of customers? And did your approach change for getting the other set of customers going forward?
So we started primarily in the testing phase. It was, of course, known people. So we had a Google form which we sent out to our friends and family, and we allowed them to send it to their friends and family, and then we allowed them to send their friends and family. So it was a matter of three that we kind of opened this out to as a try and buy program. It was, you pay 300 rupees, we will send you the product, because we wanted them to have some value attached to it. If you don't like it, you can send the product back, we'll send you the 300 rupees back, no problem, right? So that's where we started for the first. So that we started this so that, the price of the product was 2000 rupees, but we were giving it out for 300. We wanted true feedback to come in, right? Because if the feedback was good, we would ask them whether you would buy the product or not. Okay. And that's when you get true feedback, right? Whether people are willing to pay or not. So that was the first program. While we did that program went very well. Then we closed that program and we started just doing some basic sales on our website without running ads. So then that was understanding organically how are you doing on your website. By without running ads, you send it out to, let's say, 1,000 people on these WhatsApp groups, and they kind of go and see and buy, and then you start understanding what their experience was, right? And we had a caller every day, we still do. We have a person who calls up customers. So before dispatch, we used to call up every customer, okay, to get the size right. And then after dispatch, we used to ask them how does it feel, or how is the experience. So that was the second part of it. Third, when we started running ads and we kind of scaled this. uh, Now we call up our customer every day before dispatch, And then we have another agency working with us who's calling up that customer and asking a feedback about about what their purchase experience was. Is the kid liking the shoes? How it's going? So that's a kind of a dipstick. Then we understood that we have to sort of go deeper and closer to the customer. So we started doing events. And while doing these pop-up events, so we are based out of Pune. So firstly, we started in Pune, and we started doing these pop-up events in societies, RWAs. We started doing pop-up events in kids' fleas. We started doing in kids' carnivals. And we were like, let's understand when people touch and feel the product, what do they say about it? So then there was a test, the 7 second test or the 7 minute test, when a kid wears the shoe. For 7 minutes, if the kid forgets that he's wearing the shoe, he's accepted the shoe. Okay. So that was one thing that we realized, that trials help. I mean, by the way, we have about 50% conversion on trial. Roughly, we've done about 25 events. So let's say if 100 people, 100 kids try it, about more than 50 kids buy the product. That's been our trial rate, which is very, very high. So we did our first event, we got 60% conversion on trial. So we thought it was a fluke. Then we did the second event, it was again 55%. Then we thought it's again a fluke. Then we started doing events. Every weekend now we have events. So there is a team which is dedicated to just doing events on weekends. So, and we identify areas and we do it every weekend religiously. So that also gives us a lot of confidence about what people say, what is the price point, whether they're comfortable with that, whether they're not comfortable with that, whether there is resistance. So all of these things get checked out.
This is a very structured way of taking things forward, right? But tell me, since you've designed this product in such an interesting way, what are the challenges that you face while setting up operations? And if you can share some of them, and how did you overcome them, right? You spoke about your partners as well who stuck around, right? So if you can just talk about those aspects a bit.
No, I mean, that's a constantly evolving thing. So first, believe in the product and the mission was very required. So people have joined us, they've stayed with us for 2-3 years now. We've been very lucky with that, of finding that kind of talent. Everybody has been very motivated to build this, and then they are seeing how the company is growing every day. So that also gives a lot of value to all our partners. And I think it comes down to interpersonal relationships at the end of the day. How you treat people along the way, and what they are ready to give back to you. So I think that has been a value so far. And we like to do that. We like to work with people long term, and we understand what do they want, what do we want, and that's where we come out. Of course, there are operational challenges every day because you are growing out. The pace is growing you out every month, which is a good thing. So yeah, we are sometimes playing catch up. Honestly, sometimes things are planned, but it's never by the Excel sheet. So
And things
that is
happen on
one.
the ground, not on the Excel sheet, right? I mean, that's true.
Yeah, yeah, it doesn't. It never happens, right? That way.
True.
So yeah.
And so in fact, Satyajit, if you can talk about, your overall sales growth, the overall how business has grown since you start, because you started off pretty recently, right? So if you can just touch
Yeah,
base.
we started recently. Like the true sales actually started before till November. We were in that try and buy model, right? Because we were trying to figure out who the customer is, what should our pricing strategy be, what is the pricing of the product, right? Which makes sense for us to be eventually a profitable company, and stuff like that. So we were understanding how does it become viable, and that is a journey, right, of what you can command versus what people would like to give you, and so on. So till November we were in that phase. December is when we really started doing some serious sales, and then so on. We've grown almost 50 to 80% month on month. If you count the first 4 months of almost 80%, if you count the last 2 months, because you're reaching a certain number. So we are doing about a 30 to 50 lakh volume
Wow.
a month. So now that's where we are.
Wow, this is pretty interesting. And you started, and the best part, Satyajit, is you have co-created with your customer, right? I mean, you created your
Yes,
product
absolutely.
along, with the
Yeah,
customer. So that is the best part, and hence, I think you're able
yeah.
to that momentum. But tell me, so what can kids expect from Aretto in the future, right? Any other innovative products?
So firstly, we already have a product pipeline for 24, 25. So 24, we are looking at another category within the kids footwear. So currently we are doing shoes, but we are also looking at the open category, and to come into the open footwear category as well. So that is something we are looking at 24 and 25. So yeah, a lot of new things, but some. So the core of the company is innovation and tech. So that is something that we want to leverage in footwear.
Any plans to get into shoes for adults as well?
Not now. I think there are many great brands building great shoes for adults.
Mhm.
So yeah, until unless we find really a need or a niche which is not being catered to, that's when we would like to get. But I don't see it in the next 3-4 years for sure that we get into it. I'm wearing a retro shoe right now, just as a trial to see what an adult size feels like. But yeah, but this is still there is still time to look at adults. Maybe we'll launch some sizes in adult size, but that's not our focus, to be very honest.
Great. And how has this journey defined you or changed you, so to speak? Because you're not just an entrepreneur, you're a creator as well, right? So how that
Right.
is
I was earlier a creator. Now I've become an entrepreneur. It's not the other way. It's the other way around. So the creator part of it is easy. The entrepreneur part of it has a lot of learning. So it's a coaching every day, right? Like you learn new things every day, and then it's about how fast you grasp and what are you able to grasp. And sometimes it's okay not to know what you don't know, and find people who know that. So yeah.
absolutely. But Satyajit, it's been wonderful speaking to you. Before you leave, any last
You
advice you
too.
want to give to early stage startup
No,
founders?
I'm too young in the ecosystem to give advice to other people. But like just creating good products. I think a lot of Me Too products coming in India, where early traction is okay, but longevity is well, brands are built over long periods of time. You can't build a brand in 3 months, 6 months. I don't think we've created a brand. We've created a good product, but it takes time to build that. So that is something that I would look out for.
Absolutely. On that note, thank you, Satyajit, for
Yeah.
taking your time today with
Thank
us.
you so much.
It's been
Thank you.
great speaking to you. I think we
You
wish
too.
you all the best. You're something onto real big,
Yes.
in changing the world in the footwear category. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That means a lot.
Thank you to all our listeners as well for joining us today. And we continue on our mission of bringing more such inspiring stories, guys. Goodbye. Signing off for now.